Shalom, shalom, shalom. Hey, I'm back. I want to do a video. Today is the seventh day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And today is the day we close out the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So I just want to come back and give a little edification, a little understanding as far as the Feast of Unleavened Bread is concerned. And I also want to say that today is also it's the seventh day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but it is also a prep day for the actual Sabbath that begins tomorrow at the rising of the sun. So I just want to go into scripture and give some edification on that as well. And for a reference point, today is April 19th, 2025. And I'm just using that as a reference point. We know that according to the calendar of the Most High, which is Genesis 1:14, today is the 21st day of the month of Abib. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer, because even though I'm giving the date of April 19th, 2025, if somebody comes back and watches this video, I don't want, sometimes people say, oh, it's dated, that was a year old, that was 2 years old. But the fact that I gave the date of today has nothing to do with what's going to be brought forth today. The word that's coming forth today is timeless. And these principles apply regardless to what year it is. So I just want to make that point there, because some people will come on and they'll see a video and say, oh, they made that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they'll try to act as though it's old and it's not valid. But the word of the Most High is valid. He said he placed his word above his name, and his word would not return unto him again void, that it was accomplished that which he set out to do. So there's no time limit. The word does not expire, and the word is true and has been true from the beginning. So I just want to give that disclaimer. So like I said, I want to give some understanding on the Feast of Unleavened Bread and kind of do a recap to where we're at and where we started from. And so I'm going to pick it up at Leviticus 23 and verse 1. And it says, "And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yahuwah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts." So when it says holy convocation, a holy convocation by itself does not mean that it is a Sabbath. A holy convocation means that it is a coming together, a gathering, or a reading. Now, if it falls on a Sabbath day, it is a holy convocation as well as a Sabbath. But just by virtue of the fact that it says holy convocation does not mean it is a Sabbath. So I'm going to drop down and pick it up at verse 4. And it says, "These are the feasts of Yahuwah, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons." So all of the feasts that we're commanded to keep is listed here in Leviticus 23, to include the very first one is our weekly Sabbath. And we know that Psalms 119 and 104 says he made the moon for seasons, the sun knows it's going down. Sirach 43 and verse 6 picks it up and said he made the moon in her appointed time as a declaration and a sign of the world. So that's telling us that the moon was created to establish our months as well as all of our feast days, to include our weekly Sabbaths, which is the first one listed here. So I'm gonna pick it up at verse 5, and it says, "In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahuwah's Passover." So we know that we celebrated we celebrated Passover this year as a reference point on the calendar, on the Gregorian calendar, as April 12th, 2025. So on the calendar of the Most High, which is a lunisolar calendar, we know that was the 14th day of the month of Abib. So verse 6 says, "And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread." So the Feast of Unleavened Bread starts the very next day at the rising of the sun, which is the 15th day of the same month, being the month of Abib. So it says, "Is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto Yahuwah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread." So the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a feast that starts on the 15th day and runs consecutively for 7 days. Verse 7 says, "In the first day it shall be a holy convocation." So we know that the 15th day of every biblical month is a Sabbath, and it's confirmed with the full moon. It is the second Sabbath after the first, like Luke 6:1 says. So it says right here, the first day shall be a holy convocation. So we know that the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a Sabbath as well as a holy convocation, meaning a gathering, a coming together, or a reading. So it says, ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. So it's going to reiterate. It says 7 days, and then the seventh day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So again, it's a feast of unleavened bread that starts on the 15th day. It runs consecutively, and it runs in the seventh day, which is today, is the numerically the 21st day. So I'm gonna pick it up in Exodus chapter 12, and I want to pull that up on here as well, just to show that. Pull that up. Pull it up and show that as well. Screen. It's chapter 12 and verse 15. So it says, as far as the Feast of Unleavened Bread is concerned, it says 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put leaven out of your houses. So the Feast of Unleavened Bread starts on the 15th day, which is a Sabbath, as well as a holy convocation, a coming together, a gathering, or a reading. So it says of the first day, you shall put leaven out of your houses. Because according to the scripture, as far as Passover is concerned, there's no scripture that says during the Passover, which is the 14th, that we cannot eat anything that has leaven in it. We cannot consume wine that has leaven in it. This rule for unleavened bread starts like it says right here: 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. So the first day that we should have no leaven in our houses is the 15th day. So I'm gonna get a precept for that real quick. Exodus 13 and verse 7. So it says, unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall be no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. So on the first day of unleavened bread, which is the 15th day, that is the day that we should not have any leaven in our quarters, and we should not be consuming anything that has leaven in it. The top again, and it says 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put leaven away, put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eat leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day. So the first day is the 15th day until the seventh day. So it's a feast that runs consecutively for 7 days. So the seventh day is the 21st day numerically, which is today, which is the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So it says that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Verse 16 says, and on the first day it shall be a holy convocation. So the first day is the 15th day, a Sabbath, and it's a holy convocation, meaning a coming together, a gathering, or a reading. And it says, and in the seventh day, it shall be a holy convocation to you. So on the seventh day, which is numerically the 21st day, it is also a holy convocation, meaning a coming together, a gathering, or a reading. So it says of that, it says, no manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat. That only must be done of you. So I want to explain that as well to give the understanding on that. So let me pull that up. Come out of this. Into this here. me come on, pull it up. I want to pull this back up. Okay. So we'll read that again. Um, okay. Pull my pen up. So again, it says Exodus 12 and verse 15. Again, well, verse 16, rather. It says, and in the first day it shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day it shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat. That only must be done of you. So I just want to explain that, what that means, because it says on the seventh day, save that which every man must eat. That only must be done of you. Because you have to understand that when it comes to the calendar of the Most High, like it says, the first day of unleavened bread is the 15th day. It says of that day, it shall be a holy convocation as well as a Sabbath. The Sabbath is the 15th day confirmed under a full moon. It's a feast that lasts consecutively for 7 days. So from the 15th until the 21st is the seventh day, is the 7 days as far as the Feast of Unleavened Bread is concerned. So it says of the first day, it shall be a holy convocation, and of the seventh day, it shall be a holy convocation. So like I said in the beginning, holy convocation does not by itself does not mean it is a Sabbath. It simply means a coming together or a reading. So when it says of a Sabbath, the 15th day, as well as a holy convocation, it is a Sabbath and a coming together or a reading. When it says of the seventh day, it is a convocation. It is simply a coming together or a gathering. And what that is saying is that it's closing out the Feast of Unleavened Bread that runs from the 15th until the 21st. So that is the 7th day feast, right? So when it says save that which every man must eat, that only must be done of you, because according to Exodus 20, verse 9 and 10, it says, 6 days do thou labor and do all thy work, and the seventh is a day of rest. So although the 21st is the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when you count from the 16th until the 21st, that is your 6 days do thy labor and do all thy work. And that's telling you that the 22nd is the Sabbath. So every Sabbath must be preceded by 6 work days and a prep day, right? So to make a point of this, if the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the 15th day, and the 7th day is the 21st, which is a holy convocation, if the 21st is a prep day for the actual Sabbath, which is the 22nd, then we would have to conclude that also the 28th would be a prep day for the Sabbath, which is the 29th. We would have to conclude that the 7th day is a prep day for the first Sabbath of every month, which is the 8th day, which is the first quarter moon. So if we conclude that, then we would have to know that even though the Passover is the 14th day, it is also a prep day for the Sabbath, which is the 15th, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is the same. Because the 9th day to the 4th day is the 6 work days for the Sabbath, which is the 15th, which is unleavened bread, right? So the thing about the calendar of the Most High, just as the dates of the Sabbaths are always the same, being the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th, just as the new moon is always the first day of every biblical month. So when you look at the prep days, the prep day or the 6th day of every biblical month, and there's 4 weeks in every month. So the 7th is a prep day, the 14th is a prep day, the 21st is a prep day, as well as the 28th. Those dates never change. And when we read in scripture that the next day after the Sabbath, it says in scripture that the first day of the week means after the new moon, before you have a Sabbath, you must have 6 work days. So the first day of the week is the 7th, is the 2nd day. of the first week for the Sabbath. The second week, the first day of the week is the 9th day. The third week is the 16th week, the 16th day, and the fourth week is the 23rd. So just as all of the Sabbath dates are always the same, the new moon date is always the same, all of our first day of the week is the same, and all of our prep days are always the same dates as well. This is the same every month, every year, it never changes, right? So again, when it says the first day shall be a holy convocation, and the seventh day, in reference to the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that seventh day is also the sixth day of the week, being a prep day for the actual Sabbath, which is the 22nd day. So I just wanted to make that clear as far as that's concerned. So when we read again, Exodus 12, verse 16, and on the first day shall be a holy convocation, and on the seventh day shall be a holy convocation. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only must be done. So the seventh day is a holy convocation, meaning a coming together or reading, closing out the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That is a feast that runs consecutively from the 15th until the 21st. That is the seventh day, the 7-day feast. On the 21st, we come together to close out the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But again, it is a prep day for the actual Sabbath, which is the 22nd day. So that's what that means right there. So I just wanted to give a little edification and understanding on that as well, right? So I'm going to go pick it back up at I'm going to pick it back up at Exodus 6, Exodus 12, and I'm going to pick it up at verse 17. So Exodus 12, verse 17, it says, and ye shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, for in the self same day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day in your generation as an ordinance or a law forever. So it's talking about the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's talking about, it references it and calls it the self same day, because it's talking about a very specific day that we came out of Egypt. So I want to give a couple of precepts for that. Exodus chapter 12, and I'm going to pick it up at verse Exodus chapter 12 and verse 41. So it says, and it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day. So it's still talking about the self same day. It came to pass that all the host of Yahuwah went out from the land of Egypt. So it's talking about a specific day that they went out from the land of Egypt. Verse 42 said, it is a night to be much observed unto Yahuwah. So when we look into the Strongs and we read evening, evening simply means sunset, which is immediately followed by 12 hours of darkness called night, as Genesis 1 and 5 says. So it says, it is a night to be much observed unto Yahuwah for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night unto Yahuwah to be observed from all the children of Israel in their generation. So what it's saying is that they came out of Israel on a specific night or a self-same day of the night of the 15th day is what it's saying. Because the biblical day is from the rising of the sun until the going down of the same, like the scripture says. Genesis 1 and 5 says he called the light day and the darkness he called night. So a day consists of a 12-hour period of light. Like Hamashiach says in John 11 and verse 9, is it but 12 hours in the day? Absolutely. The daylight portion of the day is from sunrise to sunset. So this is what this is talking about. So it says again in verse 42, it is a night to be much observed unto Yahuwah for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. It is that night this is that night of Yahuwah to be observed by all the children of Israel in their generations, right? So this is what this is saying, right? So I'm going to drop down to verse 51. Verse 51 says, and it came to pass on that self same day that Yahuwah did bring the children out of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by their armies. So I'm going to get a precept and show exactly the day that they came out of Egypt. Numbers 31. No, Numbers 33, I'm sorry. Numbers 33 and verse 3. And it says, and they departed Ramesses or Egypt in the first month, which is the month of Abib, on the 15th day of the first month. The 15th day of the first month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, again, confirmed under a full moon that runs consecutively from the 15th to the 21st. So the morrow, meaning the next day after the Passover is the 14th day of the month of Abib. So it says the morrow after the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all of the Egyptians, is what that's saying right there. So Israel, we went out, we left out of Israel, left out of Egypt on the 15th day, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Sabbath portion of the day is celebrated from sunrise to sunset. When the sun sets, it simply means evening. Sunset, it's immediately followed by 12 hours of darkness called night, right? So I'm going to go back to Exodus chapter 12, and I'm going to pick it up at verse 18 and get some more as far as the unleavened bread is concerned. So it says, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the first month at even. So it's telling us here that we are commanded to eat unleavened bread from the 14th day, which is the Passover, until the 21st day. Again, the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a feast that starts on the 15th day, right? Verse 19 says, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses, right? So again, no leaven shall be found in our houses, is what this is saying, right? So let me get a couple of precepts for that as well. Let me get Deuteronomy 16 and verse 4. So Deuteronomy 16 verse 4, it says, and there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days, neither shall there be anything of the flesh of the sacrifice the first day at even remain all night until the morning. So it's telling us right here that the sacrifice, which is the lamb or the Passover lamb, shall not remain against until the morning as well, because the morning constitutes the starting point of the day. In this case, it would be the 15th day, which is the Feast of Unleavened. 2 or 3 witnesses. So let me get a second witness on that. Exodus 34 and verse 25. And it says, thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, neither shall the sacrifice, meaning the Passover sacrifice, of the feast of the Passover be left until the morning, because the morning constitutes the starting point of every biblical day. So this is what this is talking about here, right? So we know that even more that the Passover is come back here. We know that the Passover is that Hamashiach is our sacrifice. He is the Passover. He is our propitiation. He was tempted in all points, but yet was without sin. So we know that Hamashiach is the Passover. So when we're talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it's talking about that we need to get the leaven out of our physical homes. But in fact, the spiritual aspect, we are the houses that the yeast shall not be in for the 7 days, right? So I just want to go into scripture and give a little bit more on that, because we're getting an understanding on the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and I just want to show that as well. Let me pull that up. I'm gonna pick it up at 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 7 and 8. So it says, purge out therefore the old leaven, purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye shall be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Hamashiach, or Yahushua Hamashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. So again, Hamashiach is our sacrifice. John 1:29 says of Hamashiach, he's the sacrifice. He is the lamb of the sacrifice that came to take the sins of the world away. So when it says right here, purge, that word purge means to rid or remove out of our homes. But more importantly, like I said, we need to remove, more importantly, we need to remove the leaven which represents sin out of our homes or out of our houses, right? Meaning out of our temples or out of our bodies. So let me get a quick precept for that as well. 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 19. And it says, what know ye not, that our body is the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is in you, which ye have of Yahuwah, and ye are not of your own. So our bodies are the houses in which we need to make sure that the sin is removed out of. So this is what this is talking about. So the Feast of Unleavened Bread is symbolic to Hamashiach, but it's also telling us too that we need to make sure that not only do we purge out the sin, the leaven out of our homes, but make sure that we purge it out of us as well, because we are the body of our temples are the body for the Most High. This is what this is telling us, right? So I'm going to go back to 1 Corinthians 5. I'm going to pick it back up at verse 8. And it says, therefore, let us keep the feast, talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice or wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. So as we're keeping the feast, we have to understand what this feast represents. So it says, not with malice, or meaning not having ill will or holding any grudges against anybody. Before we go enter into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we need to search our own souls and make sure that we're right with the Most High, is what this is saying. It says, and with the sincerity, meaning the absence of pretense or deceit or hypocrisy. We must be able to discern the significance of what the feast represents, right? So this is what this is telling us, right? So let me get a precept for that as well. 2 Corinthians 13, and I'm gonna pick it up at verse 5. And it says, examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. So whenever we're doing anything, we have to examine ourselves. We have to look at ourselves, and like the scripture says, and we see ourselves in the mirror, that we walk away forgetting what manner of man we are. So we need to examine ourselves whether we be in the faith. And it says, prove your own selves. That word prove means to test. So we need to test our own selves, right? It says, know ye not that your own selves, how that Yahushua Hamashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. So we need to make sure that we're proving our own selves, that we examine our own selves, that we don't be found being a reprobate, meaning that we're doing this in vain. So we have to make sure that we understand the importance of this feast, right? So I want to go back to Exodus chapter 12. And I want to go back to verse 18. I want to make a point of that. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 18. Because it said right here, in the first day of the month, in the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 1 and 20th day of the month at even, right? So I just want to make a point of that because we need to make sure that we understand that. Let me pull this up here. So when it says Exodus chapter 12 and verse 18, it says, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 1 and 20th day of the month at even. So that's telling us that we need to eat unleavened bread from the 14th day. Passover meal consists of unleavened bread, bitter herbs, and the lamb. And like I did a post recently, we have some people that's teaching that the Passover meal only consists of the bitter herb and the bread, which there's no scripture that ever shows that the Passover meal changes once a Mashiach comes. We understand that Hamashiach is our sacrifice. He's our propitiation. His blood makes atonement for us. But the Passover meal consists of the Passover lamb, the bitter herbs, as well as the bread. The bitter herbs represent the hard bondage that was in Egypt. Exodus 1, and I believe it's verse 13. The bread represents his body, which was broken for us as he hung on the tree. So there's a significance to what the Passover meal consists of. And we know that he is our Passover, he is our sacrifice. We don't put any trust in the lamb, in the lamb that we can buy and purchase from anywhere. The lamb is only symbolic at this point to Hamashiach. He is our last and final sacrifice. We know that we're no longer under the sacrificial law. The law was a shadow of things to come. We're under a better covenant built on better promises. The better promises is Hamashiach, that his blood represents the blood that was put over the doorposts and the lintels and takes away the sin of the world, meaning to the Jew first as well as the Gentile. So this is what this is talking about. So when it says right here in verse 18, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 1 and 20th day of the month at even. What this is talking about is that that we start eating unleavened bread on the 14th day, which is consists of the Passover meal. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, like we read in multiple places, is a feast that starts on the 15th day and it runs consecutively for 7 days, right? So the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, let me take this down so I can get rid of this. Gotta go back. Okay. There you go. Okay. So it's saying on the 14th day is the Passover. The meal consists of unleavened bread, the bitter herbs, and the lamb. So of the 15th day, on the 15th day, the Feast of Unleavened Bread starts on the 15th day and runs consecutively for 7 days. The 7th day is the 21st day numerically. Like we read, the first day shall be a holy convocation, and the 7th day shall be a holy convocation. And of the 7th day, it says, save that which every man must eat, because that although it's the 7th day, it is also the prep day again, right? So when it says that we shall eat unleavened bread from the 14th day of the month at even until the 21st day of the month, when we count that consecutively, that is a total of 8 days that we must eat unleavened bread. So if we count the day starting in the even to even, you'll notice that if you count that even to even, you're going to come up one day short, because they're saying that the 14th at even is the 15th. The 15th at even is the 16th. The 16th at even is the 17th. The 17th at even is the 18th. The 18th at even is the 19th. The 19th at even is the 20th. The 20th at even is the 21st. So they're going to come up one day short because they're doing evening to evening, when it simply says that we shall eat unleavened bread from the 14th, which is the Passover, which is one day, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that is a feast that lasts for 7 days consecutively. That is 8 days in total that we are to eat unleavened bread. So I just wanted to make a point of that as well, because that evening to evening throws everything completely off. So I just wanted to do a quick video and just give it some edification, some understanding on the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I pray that that helped and give some understanding as far as it's concerned. And again, like I said, today is April 19th, 2025. It is the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but it is also a prep day for the actual Sabbath that begins tomorrow at the rising of the sun, which is the third Sabbath of the month of Abib, being the 22nd day. And it will be confirmed tomorrow evening when we look up. It will be confirmed with the last quarter moon. So I just want to give a little understanding on this. And I pray that everybody had a blessed Passover, as well as a blessed Feast of Unleavened Bread. And, you know, as we continue to do this, if the Most High tarry from sending back his only begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, we can grow even more in our understanding as far as this word is concerned. And just showing that that all feast days listed in Leviticus 23 can only be kept according to the calendar of the Most High, which is Genesis 1:14, which is a lunisolar calendar. You must use all of the luminaries to reconcile all of the feast days. I want to show this too, because I just did a post on this the other day, and I want to show this this meme that I made up for that Facebook right here. I want to show this, because like I just said, the calendar of the Most High is Genesis 1:14. It is a lunisolar calendar, which means that you have to use all of the luminaries for what they were created for. And Genesis 1:16 said he made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. So the calendar of the Most High is a lunisolar calendar, just like an analog clock here, where you have the hour hand, the minute hand, and the second hand. So the luminaries work the same exact way. You must use all of the luminaries in order to reconcile everything that takes place in Scripture. There is no other calendar that can be used to reconcile anything in the Bible, in the Scripture. There's no way to do it. You have to use this calendar here. He said he made the sun and the stars to bring in a year in 364 days, and the moon brings in the year in a 12-month cycle in 354 days. So this is the calendar of the Most High. And like it says on the screen, trust the process. You might not understand everything that entails with the calendar of the Most High, Genesis 1:14. When I first switched to the calendar of the Most High, I was keeping evening to evening, and I was keeping the Saturday Sabbath. When it was presented to me, I just knew that it was right. I couldn't explain everything that I'm explaining now. All praise to the Most High for the understanding. But I knew in my spirit that the Sabbath had nothing to do with the Saturday Gregorian calendar. It had nothing to do with evening to evening. So as I went into the Scripture, the Most High started showing it to me. And when I saw and I knew that it had nothing to do with that, the Scripture says, I made haste and delayed not to keep the commandments. So the commandments is very important. And the Sabbath is something that we will be cut off from if we're not keeping it. So if there's anybody that's contemplating switching to the calendar of the Most High, step out on faith. Step out on faith, and the Most High will bring you to the understanding He will give you the understanding of his calendar. He will show you what it is and what it means. And because it's only one way, it's only one truth. He says, sanctify them with thy truth. Thy word is true. And this is the absolute truth. This lines up so perfectly that there's no other way to to bring this together. And I'm gonna just show this, and I'm gonna close with this. There's no other way to line this up. Like I said, just based on this alone, every month is established. Every month is established by the new moon. It is followed by 6 work days for the first week. Numerically, the first Sabbath is the 8th day because 6 days do thy labor and do all our work, which is the second to the 7th, which is, you see here, it says the first day, the first, second, third, fourth, and 6th day. That's according to Exodus 20, verse 9 and 10. The very next day is the first day of the week, like I explained, which would be the 9th day. The 9th to the 14th is the 6 work days. Again, as far as the month of Abib is concerned, the 14th is also the 6th work day, meaning a prep day, but it's the Passover, which is the prep day for the actual Sabbath, which is the 15th, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The very next day at the rising of the sun is the 16th day. This is also the first day of the week, and it is also the first fruit. This is the day that Hamashiach rose from the grave. Matthew 16, verse 1 and 2 says, when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and them came to the sepulchre at the early morning at the rising of the sun. Hamashiach was already risen. The 16th to the 21st being the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, is a holy convocation, a gathering, a coming together, a closing out, but it is also the 6th day of the 3rd week, which is a prep day for the actual Sabbath, which is the 22nd. The very next day at the rising of the sun is the first day of the week, being the 23rd, is the first of the 6 work days. The 6th work day is the 28th, which is a prep day for the actual Sabbath, the last Sabbath of every biblical month, which is the 29th day. There's no other way to reconcile this on any other calendar besides Genesis 1 and 14. So I just want to make a point of that and show that as I close with that. So like I said, tomorrow at the rising of the sun is the 3rd Sabbath of the month of Abib. And I just want to say, I pray that everybody has a blessed Sabbath day. This is the prep day. Let's prepare to meet the Most High at his appointed time. And it says that the moon, he gave us a sign, with a great sign, which is the Sabbath. And it says that he also gave us a sign in accordance, meaning agreement. So as we see the moon tomorrow night is the last quarter moon, that is the sign that is in agreement with the Sabbath, that lets us know that that is the Sabbath day. And as Psalms 89:37 says, the moon is a faithful witness in the Shamayim. So with that, I say shalom.